Hey there, everyone. Just getting started, making sure that this live stream is working. It is. Let me hide that away. Awesome. There I am. Hi there, Elizabeth Hughes. I am here to talk about why doctors have such a hard time negotiating. Why is it so difficult for them? And this is prompted because I am a member of a number of online physician groups that have thousands and thousands of doctors in them. And every single solitary day, sometimes several times a day, in these groups, there is a post that goes something along the lines of this: my employer or my future employer wants to make a change to my working conditions. Might be a change in salary, it might be a change in vacation, it might be a change in how to get your bonuses, staffing, call, any of these things, scheduling. Or if it's in a future employer, my future employer is, suggesting a non-compete clause or a certain amount of vacation. So my employer or future employer is suggesting this set of working conditions or compensation or both. And what do you guys think? Right? That's the question. And this points to the fact that doctors may have a feeling that something is not a fair or reasonable or sustainable working condition, and yet they don't really know whether or not it is. They don't really know how to say no, that's not good enough. And then beyond that, they don't really know how to say, okay, so here's what I want instead. There's this assumption behind the question, even asking the question, that says, do I have a right to ask for this? Is it okay? Am I permitted to continue? Um, you know, like, am I permitted to ask for something different? So, in short, doctors just can't negotiate because, in a way, you can't decide at the beginning, at the very start, what it is that you're worth and what it is that you want. Like, this is what the basis is. Not just the skills of negotiating in the back and the forth, it's the basics of, I don't want to accept that, and it's okay for me not to accept that because I know what I'm worth. And I think it's that lack of that baseline belief is why doctors find themselves in these positions where they don't know how to negotiate. And they're even wondering if negotiation is on the table. It's always on the table. And here's why. In order to survive medical training, and even to a certain extent, in order to survive college or post-bac, whatever it is that you do prior to medical school, in order to survive all of that training and education, doctors must be self-sacrificing, right? It has to come. You are not permitted to have boundaries in any real sense during your training, right? Like, you're not allowed to say, I'm sleepy, I need to go home. Not happening. Med school, like on rotations, you are going to fail. You're going to get a bad grade. Residency, you're going to be kicked out. You're not allowed to have those boundaries about yourself. You end up, because of the demands of the training, foregoing basic things like sleep and eating regularly and even like going to the bathroom, right? For years, even after I left residency, I would find myself not going to the bathroom all day and mentally calculating, okay, do I have a moment to go to the bathroom now? But I haven't drunk any water, so maybe I'm not going to go into like urine over retention or whatever. These crazy things that you end up bringing in to your adult career. And that's kind of a funny thing to say, I know, But when you think about it, if you take medical school and residency, and if you want to throw in college and then you want to tack fellowship onto the end of that, by the time you have gone through all of that education that gets you your board certification and your ability to take a job, you're probably you're an elementary school student, if not a middle schooler, right? Like, there are lives that are formed in the time that we spend becoming doctors. It is like another childhood and even adolescence that we're learning. And we doctors are programmed to be completely self-sacrificing. Not for a bad reason. See, it's not bad to want to help other people. It's not bad to have a sense of mission. It's not bad to have an allegiance with the profession of medicine. But what does become a problem is when you've left your medical training and you still have those basic assumptions of, am I allowed to say something here? Is this really what I have to accept? Is this the best I can do? Can I even speak up? Right? And this is why so many doctors are accepting work situations that are not satisfying. And we know there's a lot of people doing this because there's so much professional dissatisfaction and burnout. I hate the term burnout, but professional dissatisfaction with our jobs. Doctors don't like being doctors. They love the patient part, but they don't like the rest of it. But who are we negotiating with? Generally speaking, we are negotiating with people who do not have that experience of an entire adolescence, if you will, or an entire, potentially decade of self-sacrifice being built into what it takes to survive. For an entire, the people who are MBAs or MPAs who don't have the same level of clinical experience, and even to some extent nursing staff who are taught to have boundaries and are taught to be sort of watchdogs for themselves and their patients. We doctors are not permitted to develop that skill, being a watchdog for ourselves. And when you come out of medical training, you are left with this maladaptive in the real world sense of underlying beliefs, like the assumptions that you have to make it through medical school, that pattern of allegiance and loyalty to the training and self-sacrifice. That doesn't serve you when you get out, and nobody's talking about this. And when you go up to negotiate against someone who's out of, let's say, business school or something like that, even if that person has a great deal of devotion to the idea of health, even if that person wants to have it wants to improve health, wants to make sure that people are well, there's a different level of commitment, because the people who do the MPHs and the MBAs and whatever else have not gone through that same set of circumstances where your boundaries just go and you have to devalue yourself in order to survive medical school, in order to get where you want to go. So this is why doctors have such a hard time with negotiating. Because if you took that same set of circumstances and put it in front of a business school class, let's say, and maybe on negotiation, they would all say, hell no, I'm not doing that. Like that's substandard. And they wouldn't even ask the question, is this okay? Am I crazy to think this isn't all right? They wouldn't ask what to do. They would know that you start with your own value and your own standards. But we doctors, despite our incredible value, we don't have any real sense of it. We've lost it. We had to shed that. So if you want to negotiate, you got to rebuild your own sense of your value and really, really recognize what your value is in the world in general. And then you can negotiate. Then you can start, because you start with a value proposition, and the value is you. All right, that's what I've got for today.